What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. So today's the day. After a couple years of doing this YouTube thing, and a large chunk of my content having something to do with the Line 6 Helix, I'm finally releasing my first metal Helix pack. That's so cheesy. Now, after a little bit of internal debate and a little discussion with some friends, shooting some B-roll, going over scripts, I was trying to decide what the best approach for this video would be, and I ended up settling on this. Why don't we just talk about the patches? Why don't I just show you what these patches do? Why don't we just go over the computer and I walk you through these patches so that you guys know what to expect? The point of this pack was to create a series of presets that I would use in my type of metal production. I wanted you to be able to simply drag and drop them into your Helix product and get up and running as quickly as possible. There's no need for external impulses or third-party IRs. Now this pack is going to contain 6 presets. The first one is geared more towards lower tuned guitars, i.e. my baritone. My particular baritone I have tuned to DrpA, and there are a few things I do a little bit differently to sculpt a tone for that kind of a tuning. Then I have 2 more metal tunings, one using the Line 6 Badonk amp model, the other using the Line 6 REVV Prple amp model. Then we have ourselves a clean delay and reverb tone, followed by a solo tone that can be changed with a snapshot to be drenched in solo and reverb for more ambient type tones. So it's kind of like, 2 for 1. You get a solo tone, but then you get a patch that can also give you real washed out ambient type, melody type things. And finally, wrapping it up, we have a metal bass tone. So why don't I do you a favor and shut up and let's go over to the computer and check out the pack. If you're into guitars, metal riffage, mixing, and everything in between, hit subscribe and follow along. Of course, maybe we should listen to an example of these tones in a mix. Okay guys, we're here at the computer. Now the first thing I want to do is to show you guys how to get them inside your Helix. So I hope this goes without saying. I'm not going to dive too much into this. I believe I do have a video on how to do what I'm about to say. But you need to make sure that your Helix is up to date. You need to make sure that HX Edit is up to date. And you need to make sure you're running the most recent drivers. There are plenty of videos on how to do that. I believe I have a video on how to do that very thing. So first and foremost, make sure you have an updated version of HX Edit. Make sure your Helix is updated and make sure your drivers are current and updated. If all that is done, this should go pretty smoothly. So let me show you how to put them in. So I know that my HX Edit is up to date and my Helix is up to date. So we're starting here. We have HX Edit open and I'm on a blank preset. Now when you download the pack, it'll come in a folder and it'll look a little something like this. Okay? And this is how simple this is. All you need to do is highlight the presets, and then you're going to drop them in right into HX Edit. It's going to say, are you sure you want to overwrite highlighted presets? Well, these are all blank, so yeah, let's do it. You hit yes. It'll say importing presets down here. And when it's done, boom, it's complete. So you can see we have all 6 presets. Pretty cool. So let's start with, since I have the baritone in my hands, we can close this now, make this full screen. Start with this DrpA Bdnk preset, shall we? And now, as I preface with just about every Helix tone video, my guitar is going to be different than your guitar. My pickups are different than yours. I have DiMarzio Titans in here. I play differently than you. There are a lot of variables that go in to this type of thing. So before you leave some sort of ridiculous comment down below, take that into consideration. All right, so let's dive in. All of these presets have 6 blocks or less. And I wanted to do it that way so that you guys with the HX Stomp can take advantage of these as well. As of right now, all of these will work in the Helix, all the Helixes, the Helix Rack, the Helix Floor, the Helix LT, and HX Stomp, as well as Helix Native. All right, so let's take a look at what I did. So we have the Scream 808 going into the REVG Prple for this. And then I'm using a dual cab block. I'm using the 4x12 XXL V30. And this mic is the 121 ribbon. And then we're using that in conjunction with the 4038 ribbon mic. Okay, so that's how we're getting all this body and girth. Make a note that the high cuts are down pretty low to get rid of some of that sizzle. Again, if you want more high-end sizzle, by all means, make some adjustments. Then I'm running into a tilt EQ. You may or may not need this or want this. So again, something you can adjust. You can get away with having less blocks. So I have the tilt EQ here. Then I have a parametric EQ, just doing a little bit of sculpting, you know, cutting some unfavorable frequencies down in the low end, boosting a little bit of mids and boosting a little bit of highs. And then I'm running into a room reverb. Again, this is not necessary. I just add a room reverb to most of my patches just for kind of a little bit of realism here. And boom, 6 blocks. It's as simple as that. Cool. So that's the baritone patch. Let me switch guitars and we'll dive into the others. Okay, so this guitar is tuned to drop C. It is my standard tuning. It's the tuning I pretty much use all the time. So I have 2 more metal patches here. The Badonk. can't play my own riff. Cool. So pretty typical stuff here. Scream 808. I have another noise gate here. You don't necessarily need that. I'm having a little bit of dirty power issues here in the house lately, so I added that just to clean things up. You may or may not be able to hear that, but I can hear it in my headphones. So this block is essentially, this patch is 6 blocks you can get away with. I have that extra noise gate there for you to use if you want. Then I'm going into the Badonk here because this is my Badonk. Something I've been doing lately is on the left side, I've been running one patch, and on the right side, I've been running another one. Gives it a little bit more width and a dynamic sound. Then we're running into, if I'm not mistaken, the same dual cab setup from the baritone patch. And I just kind of fell in love with this combo inside of the Helix, and I just ran with it. So again, we're using the 4x12 XXL V30 and just different mics. Okay, so there is a little bit of a difference here. We're using the 121 ribbon mic here, and then we're using the 414 condenser mic here. Okay. Then I'm running into another parametric EQ. Again, a little bit of sculpting, removing some unfavorable frequencies in the low end, a little bit of boost at 2K, and a little bit of boost at 8K. Do I have the, yep, and then a high cut. And then we're running into a room reverb again for a little bit more of that realism type of feel, and that's the patch. Just trying to rip off a Gojira riff. Cool. So that is the Badonk patch. Now let's go over to the REVV Prple patch. Very similar setup. I have a little more EQ going on here. I don't have that extra noise gate block here. So we're going into a Scream 808 and then the REVV Prple. I did a lot of playing around with bias and sag and stuff like that to get these to sound as best as I could. We are using the same cab combination, dual cab block from the Badonk patch. So we're using that 121 ribbon mic and the 414 condenser mic on the 4x12 XXL V30. Then a little bit of tilt EQ here. This one's a little hairy. This one's got a little more, in your face kind of vibe to it. But it still blends really good with the Badonk patch when I have it left and right. It's early in the morning. I can't play right now. So we got that tilt EQ, and then we're rocking that parametric EQ again, and I'm doing some overall sculpting, treble frequency in the low end, a little bit of boosting in the high end, and then again into the room reverb. Boom. There's the RevGen Prple metal patch. So then we also have a clean patch, and I have it set up to basically so that the effects are running in parallel, okay? So we have the Huwatt 100 going into a dual cab block with the 412 greenback, 25 with the 57 on it, and then the 2x12 Jazz Revet. So we have that going straight out, and then I have a parallel path with some dual delay, the Searchlights reverb, an EQ block to really kind of sculpt the effects and how it sounds. I prefer to have my delay and my reverb. I like to roll off the high end and roll off the low end to make it have that lo-fi sound so it doesn't take away from the overall tone of the guitar, of the patch, of the amp. And then we're running into a little bit of compression, and it's cool because with the compression you can hear it sort of like bloom when you stop playing. So and if you wanted to kind of play around with the overall level of the effect, you just go to this mixing little tab right here, and you can bring this down. That's just your raw, clean. So if we bring that back up, you can blend it to taste, basically. I like a lush sound, so. So that's the clean reverb delay patch. So this next patch is my solo or lead or ambient type of patch. And we have a couple snapshots here. I have the input, the noise gate pretty relaxed on this one because I want the sustain. So snapshot 1 is just the raw tone. So you can hear, like, if we get the gate tightened up, it's pretty tight. All right. So I'm running into a Scream 808, into the Badonk, into a single cab 4x12 Cali V30. And then if you go to snapshot 2, it'll bring up the delay and the reverb I have. So I have a ping pong delay, 2 ping pong delays at different times, and then the Searchlights reverb. I haven't played that solo in so long, I'm terrible. And then snapshot 3 is even more drenched, and I did this so that you guys can kind of play around with some ambient type stuff, you know? So if we go back to Snapshot 2, it's a little more tame, a little bit more typical solo stuff. Now I realize even for a solo or a lead, it is super drenched in delay and super drenched in reverb. That's how I prefer it. So if you don't dig it, you can dial it back by all means. Still sounds pretty sick if you just play chords and stuff. So that is the solo tone, Dat Solo. I called it in there, trying to be clever and funny. Solo, ambient type of thing with the snapshots. Play with the snapshots on this one. So let's check the bass out. All right, so now you guys will truly hear how noisy my power is with all this interference. So I also included a metal bass tone, or a bass tone that's geared towards my type of metal productions. And this is it. Now we're using the Obsidian 7000, which is obviously a B7K, into an Ampeg SVT4 Pro, and then into a dual cab setup here with the 410 Ampeg with the 421 dynamic mic, and then the 8x10 Ampeg with the 112 dynamic. A little bit of tilt EQ to kind of get rid of some of all of that low end that I had. You can tweak this, you can tweak this to get different sounds. If I turn off this tilt EQ, still a great sound, but I turned on this tilt EQ to basically brighten it up, make it kind of stand out in the mix a little bit. And then I'm running into a little bit of compression. It's metal bass. It's dirty, gnarly metal bass. And I hope you like it. So those are the 6 patches, guys. I really hope you dig them. I hope they help you in your productions. I hope they get you up and running quickly. That was the point. All appropriate links down below in the description, including links to my music. And if you dig what I'm putting down, hit subscribe and follow along. All right, guys. So first of all, I really do hope you like this pack. I hope it's useful for you. My train of thought going into this was to create a series of presets that you can just drag and drop into your particular Helix model and just get up and running as quickly as possible. And I feel, according to my tastes, that they're pretty close to mix ready. Don't be afraid to experiment and tweak these to your ear. I play differently. I have a different guitar. I have a different style. So not every aspect of these patches may fit your particular needs. The preset pack will be available on my webpage, nickhillmakesmusic.com. Check the description for a link below. I really hope you guys check it out, and I hope you find it useful. That was my main intention with this pack. A note, these presets will work in all Helix models. That meaning the Helix Floor, the Helix LT, the Helix Rack, the HX Stomp, and Helix Native. These will not work in the Pod Go. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really, really appreciate all your support. If you're looking for other ways to support me, the channel, or what I'm doing, and you don't have a Helix, I do have music for sale on Bandcamp, and of course streaming everywhere music is streamed. Special shout out to those of you that are supporting me on Patreon and of course here on YouTube as YouTube members. Thank you guys so much for being here, and we'll see you in the next one.